welcome to Hello Westchester here on WCHE every Monday from 11:30 to noon. I'm Eric Lambera, joined by Cara Corridoni, publisher of Hello Westchester, which releases every Friday, covers all the news and information related to life here in Westchester. You can subscribe at hellowestchesterpa.com. Good morning, Cara. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing well. Good to hear from you again. So let's get right into things here. The first story we had for today was 5 predictions for downtown Westchester in 2026.
Yes. So last week I had a chance to sit down with Downtown Westchester Executive Director John O'Brien. We have a kind of a standing beginning of the new year meeting where we kind of go over and chat what's going on downtown and what the year looks like ahead. And it seems like for the last couple of years we've had the same conversation. We kind of hit the same topics, the importance of events and low occupancy rates and the point, we're going to support our retail and try to expand that. And we had met and had the same discussion last January, and those were basically the topics we hit. Well, it turns out kind of 2025 was I feel like a little bit of a potentially monumental year for downtown Westchester. Some big initiatives that kind of happened, whether expected or unexpected, among those being parking. Parking turned out to be quite a topic last year with downtown Westchester moving away from meters. And there's a lot of good reasons for that, which is some of the stuff we discussed. But, it's also been a hiccup for people, and it's been a frustration. So that was one big change. Then, of course, we had kind of 2 big closures that weren't really predicted at the beginning of the year, Iron Hill and Rite Aid, leaving 2 10,000 square foot openings. And both of those locations remain open heading into 2026. And the other being kind of this expansion of downtown Westchester. So as part of their reauthorization plan that presented was to expand the footprint of what is covered under downtown Westchester, which is kind of it is a business group. So they do have, they are supported monetarily by downtown businesses as well as the borough of Westchester. And their job is to support kind of the business community in this area through marketing and communications and advocacy. And that footprint in which they support has expanded down High Street as well as down to the eastern end of town past Matlock Street, both on Gay and Market Street. So those are 2 kind of transitional areas. When we look at it, it's kind of goes from the downtown area to more, especially as you're leaving and you're going east, kind of that more industrial section of town. So those are some of the big changes. What do we have to look forward to in 2026? After talking with John for a good hour, these are some of the things I kind of honed in on. And one of the things front and center we're looking at is High Street is going to get a beautification. So this goes to that expansion area, and this is one of the top priorities, some of the quick wins that John and team think they can kind of tackle in 2026. And this includes adding more trash cans in this area, looking to plant out some of those bump outs that Pico or PennDOT had added. So at the end of last year, another big thing in 2025 was the completion of the High Street pedestrian safety project that PennDOT had undertaken. They added a lot of bump outs to slow traffic movement in the area, but those bump outs really just have dirt in them. So one of the things that John would like to see is those planted with gardens using a combination of like flowers and native grasses. Then the addition of some more trash cans, some big belly trash cans like you see in other places in downtown, really to hope in cutting back on some of the trash that gets dropped there, especially from, to call people out, but students that may be walking back late at night from the bars. So those are some quick wins. In that kind of same vein, he's also talking about improving walkability on the eastern end of town, so making that transition from the southeast quadrant of the borough into downtown a little more pedestrian friendly. Again, looking at the sidewalks in the area, making sure they're there. and they're wide enough, adding, again, more trash cans, adding some planters, adding some things that make it more aesthetically appealing in that area. So those are some of the quick wins, I think, coming out of the expansion project. So those are one of the things we can see in 2026. Another one we have is number 2 is we're going to party like it's 1776. It's America's 250. And obviously this is a big deal for Philadelphia. There's an estimated economic impact of between 1.3 and 2.5 billion dollars for Philadelphia. But what I was curious about is, does this come out to us? Philadelphia's a big city, can support a lot of the events they're bringing in. Do we see an opportunity for Westchester to benefit? That was one of the questions I posed to John, and he says he thinks yes. Not only economically, which he sees some big potential, primarily with the FIFA World Cup, just because the amount of people that is anticipated to bring, around 450,000. Huge event, so there's a potential for some spill out of the city for that. And then also the PGA Championships, which are going to be taking place at the Arrowminick Golf Club in Newtown Square, so that's just right down the road. So those primarily, but he also sees this as a big community event, as do a lot of others. There's many organizations in this area that are working on this 250 project. The Chester County Community Foundation has been doing a lot of work, really organizing groups. Then we have Westchester University. They have stuff planned, as does the Westchester History Center. And now the borough is forming an America 250 work group through the mayor's office. So there's a lot of potential for things to happen here just locally as well. John would like to see the town kind of really done up in red, white, and blue, see the streets lined with American flags and the buildings draped in bunting, give it really that Americana feel. And there's some events being discussed, although things are still kind of in a working session mode. We don't have anything really finalized yet, but we do have some ideas that were thrown about. We're doing a time capsule, supporting a student essay competition. The borough has already announced a drones show that's going to be happening in August, as well as potentially another parade in August and a gala. So looks like there's going to be quite a bit of activity and buzz around 250. So won't be limited to Philadelphia. It is coming to the burbs, including here in Westchester.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, very busy in Philadelphia, and then with that, hopefully Westchester will get a little bit of a boost as well. Not only Westchester, but Chester County as a whole.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, I think so. So something to keep an eye on. Another prediction he has for 2026 is that we're all going to find a parking space. So I think this is looking that things may calm down heading into 2026. Obviously, it was a bit of a frustrating year for Westchester parking, and I'm sure the parking department would not disagree with that assessment. Flowbird, the app they moved to, has had quite a few technical difficulties, but they do have, according to John, a good plan, and so that there we can expect to see some continuing improvements. They've already contracted with Park Mobile to add that as a second app alternative. So if you want to pay using a parking app, you should soon be able to use Park Mobile or Flowbird. Park Mobile, as of last week, was not yet operating, but it should be coming soon. They're also adding, and they have already started adding more, and they're adding even more kiosks. That means you don't have to pay using an app at all. You can just go to a kiosk. It's similar to a parking meter, except it's credit card only. So that's going to be a better option. And they're going to work on signage so that you can find these options a little more seamless. But besides those technical difficulties, we actually are in a pretty good position parking-wise. When I was talking to John, he was saying that, if you look at his counterparts in Phoenixville or Media, these areas really struggle with capacity of parking. We don't really have that. We have 2 parking garages. We have the Chestnut and the Chestnut parking garage, the one used by the county when they don't use it, as well as the street parking. So we have capacity. It may not always be easy to access, but it's there. So we're expecting to see better things parking-wise in 2026.
Yeah, it seems like, as you mentioned, some hiccups, but that's bound to happen with new technology and, using the app and everything. So I feel like once you get the feel for it and everything, it gets a little bit easier, but still a transition.
Yeah, and I think we're going to hopefully come over the hump of that transition, and it will start to be more accepted and used something you're used to. So prediction number 4, a new trail system will take root in Westchester. This came up a couple times last year, kind of just in the chat, but it's something that the Westchester Transportation Advisory Committee, John O'Brien also happens to be the chair of that, as well as the executive director of downtown. And this initiative really kind of aligns with both the goals of both the downtown and the Transportation Advisory Committee. And it's a walking riding trail that would run parallel to the train line. So the Westchester, the train line used by the Historic Railroad right now, the one that doesn't otherwise operate, it wouldn't interfere with it. It's not rails to trails, so it doesn't go over the tracks. It just runs parallel. And it would really help connect Westchester to its neighboring townships, eventually maybe even go into a different, trail line. But think of it something like the Chester Valley Trail or the Schuylkill River Trail in Philadelphia. So it's just, as John was saying, it's an amenity the borough doesn't have. Once it's complete, it would have the capacity to kind of connect Ruston. So Ruston students could then come into Westchester, either bike or, walk. It might be a bit of a long walk, but you could easily bike into downtown. So it's just a way to connect people and give an alternative to cars, or just a way to exercise. So that is something that they're kind of really excited about. They have brought it forward to SEPTA. SEPTA's reviewing it, just kind of on a high level, is this feasible? And once they get the green light from SEPTA to explore, they'll go out for a feasibility study to kind of look at how that might come to fruition. But there's something that, as long as it's not X'd immediately by SEPTA, that John believes at least portions of that can be done within 5 years. So I think that could be an exciting new amenity for Westchester.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of pros, as you mentioned, particularly with Ruston students being able to get from school to town, and then property values could rise as well.
That was another benefit that he had pointed out, especially along that rail line trail, that those properties could really benefit from this, which would be a positive, because being so close to the actual trail can sometimes be a positive, but if you get too close, all of a sudden it's a property negative. So that would help those properties there. And then number 5, this has to do with Westchester's restaurants and a cultural change that we've been seeing. So they will continue, I think, to grapple and get an understanding of how this how to meet the next generation, and, kind of shifts in our current views on drinking and partying. And this is something that kind of came to a head with the closing of Iron Hill. The idea that the craft beer market had been struggling nationwide for years. And I know we've all heard the stats about Gen Zers who don't drink as much as kind of previous generations. And there actually has been some rebound in that. Some more recent polls do show that Gen Zers who at one time looked at by less than half of them just drank. Now it's up to 70% who report drinking, but the frequency in which they go down remains down. And in general, we're seeing kind of a decline in partying or socializing. So in talking to John, how that might impact Westchester, which is really heavily focused on those areas. We've got a very big, obviously, restaurant population, but we even have a large bar kind of population. And in John's view, it's not necessarily going away. It's just more quality versus quantity. So people are still going out. They're still socializing. They're not seeing any big dips. But they're less likely to go out and, get a bucket of, dollar Miller Lights, and more likely to go out and get a craft cocktail and have one of those instead of 5, So it's kind of that shift. he said that, we've seen that shift downtown as well with the addition of several elevated dining experiences like Jolene's and the Westchester Seafood Kitchen. And then last year also the Scala's Fire. And, from Westchester, we still seem to be a little insulated from some of these trends, both in the partying aspect and in affordability concerns, which is something that we are seeing across the country. According to their footprint report, their visitor report, so they can actually see how many people are coming to downtown Westchester, and it's holding steady. Last year we had 1.4 million people that entered that visited downtown. That's the same as in 2024. However, we did see an uptick in repeat visitors. So there were 6.2 million repeat visitors in 2024 and 6.7 in 2025. So that is good news. We are a wealthy county, and it's something that probably helps insulate us a little bit from those larger economic trends. But obviously, it's still a tenuous situation that both the restaurants and the Westchester downtown area will have to continue to watch.
And it seems like with the repeat visitors going up, that maybe parking hasn't kept people away. Yeah,
so people like to complain, but maybe they aren't necessarily not coming after all. Maybe just like to complain about it.
Yep. So shaping up to be another big year here in 2026. And listeners, we're at 11:46, so let's take a break. On the other side, we'll have much more in the second half of the show. So stay with us, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Hello Westchester. I'm Eric Limbera, joined by Cara Corridoni, publisher of Hello Westchester, which releases every Friday. You can subscribe at hellowestchesterpa.com. So picking up where we left off, we had a couple more stories. Let's go next to the Friends Association leaves home. What's going on here?
Yeah, so the Friends Association, which is located or was located on West Chestnut Street here in the borough, sold their property at the end of last year, and they are moving to 825 Paoli Pike. This is just outside the borough, just west of Aldi's and that complex that was put there, the building next door. They're moving there. So this is a 1,500 square foot former office building. And not only does it represent a new mailing address for the organization, but it's also a tripling of the housing space that they maintain. So while the first floor of the building will be retained for day-to-day operations, the two upstairs floors are being converted into 10 living spaces for up to 10 families. It's also a 1-acre property, much more room than they had currently. So that will allow them to put in kind of a playground and other equipment going forward. In all, this is really going to help expand the number of families they can help from 6, which is what they currently had, to 16. This building they were able to purchase outright, and that was done with some help from a $3 million grant from the county. So really good news for families, especially those that may be unhoused, or especially going in kind of, housing seems to get better as you come into the holidays. I think people's families are more likely to take them in, but as you go closer to spring and warmer temperatures, those numbers can kind of start bumping up again. So those that are kind of, on the fence or maybe have unstable housing, this is really good news for them, and a potential for the county to really expand family access to housing. So it's a big news.
Yeah, it seems like, as you mentioned, they'll be able to expand. And as you also mentioned, the new home is going to be 825 Paoli Pike. And so the sale of the West Chestnut Street property. Let's go next to Westchester Moose Lodge 908 closes its doors.
Yeah, this goodbye doesn't have quite the same happy ending as that one. So the Moose Lodge, which was on West Washington Street and has been there for around 110 years. It's a fraternal society. It was a membership organization. But they also had weekly, not weekly, but they definitely had live music. I know that was a lot of people liked it for that. But they are closing their doors, or actually have closed their doors. So tough loss for Westchester. Like I said, this has been around for a long time. And unfortunately, it's another music venue, one that was catering to some alternative types of musicians, so not necessarily cover bands or some of the mainstream things you might see downtown. This was, giving different genres a chance to kind of have a stage. So tough loss for Westchester.
Yeah, as you mentioned, over around 110 years, so a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
In the area. Let's go next to, I know we have a couple of quick updates to get to, and the next one here, I couldn't find it for a sec. New car wash on Phoenixville Pike avoided for now.
Yeah, so this was out in West Goshen, and it's something we were following before. The West Goshen Township supervisors did hear discussion on a proposed spotless car wash that was to kind of take over the former Rite Aid at 1307 Phoenixville Pike. But in order for a car wash to open there, they needed a zoning ordinance conditional use exemption. And so far, they did not get it. After a 75-minute presentation, the board voted 3-2 not to proceed with the zoning amendment. So you can still not have a car wash in that location. But this is all kind of tied in with a larger zoning update that the West Goshen is working on. And in the zoning update, they are still considering allowing car washes in a C1 district. So that discussion is going to continue. If you've been following this and you are interested and or concerned, that's scheduled for January 28th.
So coming up pretty quickly at the end of the month here. Going next to a Westchester area picks up more than $1 million in grants before the end of the year. Yeah,
so some big financial aids for Westchester area. Just to run over a couple of them real quickly. Westchester Borough's getting $65,000 to complete phase 2 of its brick storm sewer rehabilitation project. West Goshen Township received $126,000 towards its Montgomery Avenue storm sewer and pedestrian improvements. That's really supposed to help with the flooding in the area there. And they also got $250,000 to replace 16 wastewater treatment process pumps. This will hopefully keep the system from overflowing and help maintain continuous service. Westchester Fire Department got $818,000 to purchase a new fire truck. So that's, huge for them and huge for us that support that volunteer-only organization. And then East Bradford Township got $75,000 to purchase a new disc chipper that will replace an outdated model for them.
So it looks like some big improvements coming up. And let's go next to Alex Christie resigns from the Westchester Area School Board.
Yeah, the Westchester Area School Board has seen a few resignations of late, off-cycle resignations at that. But I did get a chance to talk to Alex about why he decided to leave. And actually, it's tied to his recent run for Proto Notary. That's a Pennsylvania thing I'm still not familiar with. But he said that when he decided to run, he knew that if he was elected, he would have to step back from the school board because there is a Pennsylvania law that prohibits an elected county official from serving on the school board. So it was a negative about the position, but he is in place at county offices, and he is excited about it. So sorry to see him go, but that's just the law. So the Westchester Area School District is currently accepting applications. If you would like to help out or serve on the board, it's open. Just note that this is Region 1. He was representing Region 1, which is the Westchester Borough and portions of West Goshen. You go to the Westchester Area School District website, you can figure out exactly where those boundaries lie. If you wanted to do this, your application would be due by January 21st.
So a couple of goodbyes in the SU this week. Going next to Pico, coming to East Bradford.
Yes, so just a heads up to East Bradford residents that Pico is going to be in the area. Residents of Copeland School Road and Happy Creek Lane were notified that they are en route of a $450,000 infrastructure improvement project that includes installing new conduit, underground electrical cables, and above-ground transformers. The work is set to begin now and will run through April. It's being done to reduce outages in the area. Just keep an eye out it because last time Pico came in to do this work, it resulted in a lot of trees being taken down. So hopefully we can avoid it this time. They do state that restoration work will be done when it's complete. They don't say what that is, though, so not sure what that will mean. Probably would be the replanting of trees, though, if those do have to come down.
And then moving ahead next to area high school team, one of the best in the country. Yeah,
so if you're a basketball fan, this is a little fun fact for you, but the Westtown girls basketball team is ranked number 13th in the country by ESPN. They currently have 3 top nationwide players, including Ohio State-bound guard Atlee Vanesco, and then junior Jordan Palmer. She's currently ranked number 6 in the country by ESPN of the 2027 recruiting class. They have been dominant the last 4 years. They won 4 straight Pennsylvania Independent School Athletic Association state championships. They've got, I think, some competition in a friend's school somewhere, but other than that, it should be another dominant year for the Lady Moose. But good hoops if you can see it.
Yeah, so definitely shout out to the Westtown team. I know that they are always really good as far as the women and the men as well. So some good talent there.
Yeah, I know they have been dominant for a few years now.
Yep, and then one more thing we had here was, before we look ahead to a couple things, opportunities abound to get involved.
Yeah, so if you have a resolution in 2026 to get more involved in the community, lots of opportunities. As we mentioned earlier, the Borough of Westchester formed a America 250 planning group. So if you want to help out with those activities, you can do that. They are also looking for help with the Silver Service Commission, the Town Gown Relations, Library Services, Zoning Hearing Board, Human Relations, and Trees. So if you have any of those or areas of interest for you, go to the borough website, check out the list of boards and commissions, and submit your name.
So lots of ways to get involved. And then looking ahead in the closing minutes, I know there were a couple of things taking place this week.
Yeah, a couple of things we'll shout out this week. On Wednesday, Westtown is having a Puzzle Palooza. This sounds like fun to me. It's going to be held at Oakbourne Mansion from 6 to 8 p.m. Get yourself a team of 2 to 4 people, and you race to complete a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle. $15 to participate. You do need to register for that. Then on Thursday, Uptown is hosting Joe Conklin for a comedy show. That starts at 7:30 p.m. And then on Saturday, remember the Westchester Growers Market is back. They're doing every other week now for their winter market. And the Silent Book Club is meeting at Chester County Welcome Center. That's at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. You get to read in silence. That should be fun. And then also this is on Sunday, but Hildaris is bringing back the Split the G competition. They did that last year. Idea is to drink until your Guinness lands in the middle of the G on that Guinness pint.
So interesting. So a lot of good things coming up this week. I did go before and see Joe Conklin, so I definitely recommend that one at Uptown at 7:30 on the 15th. And that takes us to the end of the show. Thank you, Cara. As always, you can subscribe to the newsletter at hellowestchesterba.com, and you can get the podcast at 953wchg.com on the podcast tab. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.